Hey guys, Mega Man NG here, and we are back with another weekly episode review of Gotham. This week's episode is By Fire, which is what was yesterday's episode, of course. So I'm going to be providing my thoughts on the plots, not to mention my favorite moments, my least favorite moments, as well as the verdict. Be forewarned, however, that there will be spoilers, so if you do not want to be spoiled, watch the episode first, then watch the review. Okay? You've been warned. So let's get this show started. First off is the plot, of course. And this is basically taking place after the events of last week. After having his hand cut off by the Penguin, Butch heads to Theo Galvin in the hopes that he can work for him because, well, Penguin's gone a little bit nuts. He succeeds, but not before having a mallet attached for his hand. Sort of a replacement hand, more or less. Though despite being in the group, he still works for Penguin, and he was able to obtain information on the whereabouts of Penguin's mom. When that happens, Butch provides the info to Penguin, and now he gears up to, rescue her. Penguin's now gone nuts! And he's willing to do whatever is necessary to save his mom, but I didn't think he'd be going off the deep end, because next week's going to be all-out hell, I tell you. All-out hell. Meanwhile, Selina and Bridget, a.k.a. Firefly, work together to rob an underground prostitution ring. Although Bridget does return later on to rescue the prostitutes, however, we're focusing now on Selina and Bridget first. But then, later on, after some talk, Bridget reunites with her brothers. And after a bit of torture, she returns to their family. Of course, that ends up being short-lived because Bridget burns them to death. Yes, she burns them to death for all the abuse she endured. She then tells Selina that she's free, but Selina warns Bridget not to do anything rash. And this is one of the first few bits I liked about the episode, is that Selina does care for Bridget. And personally, I find it to be a good thing, and it shows that even villains have a soft spot. And I feel that soft spot is what contributes to her overall character. She is a villain, but she really does care for some people. She really does. Meanwhile, Bruce continues his training with Alfred, and the training is rigorous. He asks Alfred about the repairs on the computer and what Lucius Fox could do, but Alfred tells him that it'll take time. So at least things are going on the right track. And at least it's nice to see Bruce and Alfred again after last week. They didn't really show much. They really weren't there last week in last week's episode. Later on, Bruce is invited to Theo's place for dinner, and we get to see a nice good moment with everyone there. And it shows that Theo is a nice guy. And Theo wishes that he would see Bruce as a family in time. And Bruce does appreciate it. Although I'm beginning to wonder if Bruce had any idea of what Theo's true intentions. Especially later on, Bruce and Theo, near the fireplace, talk about Bunderslaw. A little troublemaker that was in Season 1. I'm not going to say much about it, but I think it was pretty minor plot point, more or less. Meanwhile, Gordon and Bullock are tasked by the captain, Nathaniel Barnes, to find Firefly and stop her. Selina, hoping to stop Bridget, gives Gordon a tip on where she's at. They confront her, and in the confrontation, she dies by the flames. Later on, Selina has Lee at gunpoint only for Gordon to tell her that she won't make it. This gets Selina very pissed off, and as a result, she starts to distrust cops and decides to veer away from Gordon. To find that your best friend died, despite the fact that they did everything they could, is just gut-wrenching. And to see Selina break down and just be angry, it's understandable. It really is understandable, to be honest. It really is. But it's nothing compared to the events of the last part of the plot. Nigma and Kringle's relationship is taken to the next level. But then it all goes downhill when Kringle mentions Tom Doherty. Nigma confesses that he killed him. However, this gets really bad. And in the scuffle, when Kringle tries to leave, Nigma ends up killing her. I mean, wow! I didn't think the relationship would go down that bad. If Kringle kept her mouth shut about it, I would have been happy for the two. But no, all good things have to come to an end. And I mean, my God, it is sad. I felt bad for Nigma, but at the same time, we knew eventually that he would become a villain. That his evil would get the better of him. And personally, Nigma should have not choked her to death. If she would have just had her mouth closed like that and not have her hand in her neck, then it would have been no big deal. But no, it just had to happen. So yeah, now we've got the plot out of the way, let's talk about my favorite moments. And let me say it, this was not as good as last week, but it was more emotional. There was some action, but the whole focus is all about emotion. There was a lot of it there. For example, Selena having a soft spot for Bridget since the two are orphans. It makes sense because Selena really does care for Bridget, and when Bridget died, it was gut-wrenching, it was hurtful for her, and it made her feel really angry. Not to mention Bridget finally getting her revenge against her brothers and her fate. Basically, Bridget finally getting her revenge was just a highlight for me. I mean, she was abused, and you can tell that whenever people get abused by others, it can end up having a psychological effect on them, in which in turn they would lash out and do something violent. This is what happened here with Bridget. And when her fate happened, when she tried to defend herself and she dies, it's sad. It really is. It really is sad. Not to mention the confrontation between the GCPD and Firefly was a very intense moment. It was very intense because we don't even know if Bridget was gonna get hurt. Unfortunately, with how it happened in the end, it was just sad. Like I mentioned already many times, it is sad. It is emotional, and the confrontation between Gordon and Selena about it was just really dreadful. It was really dreadful. Although there was some funny bits with Butch having a mallet for a hand. I mean, really, Butch having a mallet for a hand, I consider it kind of hilarious because now he can actually whack people with that. At least now he can defend himself, though I don't know if it's going to help him much. Ed's final moments with Kringle was also a favorite moment for me because, it was inevitable at that point because the relationship wasn't going to last. If he didn't choke her to death, then it would have ended on a bittersweet moment, and Nigma wouldn't have any reason to kill him. But he did, and the impulse took over, and as a result, she's dead! And Ed just yelled out, "No!" at the end of the episode. It was just sad. I keep saying sad over and over because all of it is filled with sadness. A lot of sadness. Gotham isn't always so happy and sunshine with full of rainbows. It's a dark place. And sort of represents the dark world we live in. However, what shocked me even more was that surprisingly, Bridget did survive. I thought she was dead, but she ended up in a place called Indian Hill, which from what I've been hearing is going to be an important plot point for Season 2. Not to mention, looking that it's a subsidiary of Wayne Enterprises makes me all the more curious. It makes me all the more curious to finding out what's going to happen next. Now let's bring up to our least favorite moment, and there was actually one least favorite moment. Bridget died. When she died, it just felt really sad, and personally, she didn't deserve to die. But having to go through all that abuse by her brothers and everything, it's just gut-wrenching. It really is gut-wrenching because she didn't deserve to die, but she was just nuts. Not to mention, the origin for her Firefly storyline was a bit too fastly paced. The pacing was just too fast. It could have been slowed down a bit better. Maybe have her live longer, and maybe we can see how that turns out. But other than that, the pacing was a bit off-putting. It really was. And that's the only complaint I have for this episode. That's about it for this. Now we move on to the final verdict. As always, all review scores for all the episodes I review are opinionated, so you are free to disagree with me. Final score for By Fire is a 7.5 out of 10. It is a pretty good episode. There was some pretty good action. There were some action moments, there were some funny moments, and there were some emotional moments, and some soft spot moments, especially when Bruce and Theo were getting along at dinner and everything. I liked it. It was pretty nice, although Bridget's death kind of really made me feel sad, and the fact that her origin story was a bit too fast-paced. I wish they could have just slowed it down, but what can you do with an hour-long show? Not to mention, By Fire is actually a part of a two-parter. It's a two-part origin story. By Fire and Scarification is a two-part origin story, so that surprised me. So yes, that's about it for my episode review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to hit the like button. It does mean a lot to me. Not to mention, share this video around. If you know anybody who watches the show, share it with them, so that way they can provide their thoughts, and I can hear them. So I'll see you guys next week, where next week's episode, all hell in Gotham is going to break loose, and with Theo Gallivan about to run for Gotham mayor, who knows what's going to happen. Alright, that's about it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace out.